Getting ready. Almost there. All right, I believe. All right, you guys should be up and running on YouTube, so I'm going to check out. Julie's chiming in now. Let's get her admitted. And have a good meeting. I'll be in the background.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 4:02 p.m. Call to order. We have, as I said, David's, he's got a server blink, so he's trying to get back in. Eric is going to take minutes in the interim. The minutes were distributed by David. I believe they.
Hey, Warren.
Yo.
Hey, Warren, I just saw this.
Oh, you're on. Hey, turn on your
I went
camera.
to the program. I still don't have internet connection, but I can at least listen.
Good job. Okay. Ready? So the minutes, David, the minutes were approved by email. Is that correct?
No, I just
Okay.
sent them out. I guess we have to approve.
So
them.
we have the minutes of the June 17th meeting in front of us.
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Moved and seconded that we accept them as printed. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Are adopted. Thank you. So that takes us to the director's report.
So I'm going to scooch Warren over and give you some details. I sent out a report via email to everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And it's fairly basic, but the businesses, the first is business recruitment and retention. These are the businesses that have made public the name of their business and the address where they're locating. I have a couple under the to be determined. For example, the designer consignment shop, they'll be locating where the photography studio was. The official business name has not been determined for that particular institution. I have an HVAC supply center. Their official business name has not been stated of when they do locate in a particular building. And the bait shop does not have its business name as of yet either. But those are entities that have either signed a lease, have a lease pending, have some documentation that we know they're moving forward, and they've made it public. The prospects underneath that are the businesses that are actively looking for space in Havre de Grace, have given me some requirements, are negotiating with various landlords, et cetera. So I just wanted to make you aware of that because it's a very, it's a very vast variety that we've got looking in Havre de Grace presently. I did participate in this morning's Harford County Economic Development Advisory Board meeting, which was a virtual meeting. County Executive Barry Glassman addressed that. He did speak to the TARP grants. Hi, Robert.
Hey, how are you? Good to see everybody. I had some technical difficulties.
No problem. Sorry if I'm stealing your thunder on this, but
No, go ahead, please.
one of the things that the county executive did state regarding the TARP grants is that you know there's fewer people that are traveling necessarily, so there's fewer heads in beds, and therefore there's fewer a smaller amount of hotel tax that's being collected. A lot of our nonprofits benefit from that hotel tax in the form of TARP grants, and although they're being distributed, that number might be less in the next round or in the next portion of the TARP grant. So if a lot of you I know serve on other boards or volunteers for other organizations, it's something to be cognizant of as you're doing your planning for events, activities, the events that we are allowed to have. This could, you know, continue to trickle down of what dollars are going to be available and what can come in as monies are distributed. So
Erica, did he give any percentage guesstimate as what the range might be?
I didn't hear any straight figure of what the percentage cut could be. Just in the second half of when it goes out, that those figures could be decreased significantly. Decreased significantly is always something that that's a significant pain point that can happen. I mean, we can't change whether there's heads in beds based upon restrictions, but I don't know how folks can tighten their belts any tighter. But it's better to be forewarned and prepared. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best isn't always the best planning. So it's just something I think to be cognizant of, and to look for alternative ways of raising funds for some of these groups. Whether or not there'll be additional details that come out from Harford County, at this point, I don't know. They're going to be looking at the numbers as they come in for the next quarter. That being said, I do have 2 programs that I've signed up for. They are free webinars that are available to International Council of Shopping Center members, of which we have been a member for about 10 years. So one is the new lease language that'll deal with basically renewing a lease in a pandemic, as well as attracting women and minority-owned businesses to communities. So I'll be participating in both of those. And then on tomorrow, I'm also going to have a live podcast with Harford County Living. This is relevant to the women's suffrage marker that Havre de Grace was chosen for. Primarily, it's going to be about the history of the women's suffrage movement here in Havre de Grace and why we received the marker. Then we're going to have a subsequent meeting, virtual meeting on August the 12th is what we're looking at for various groups and organizations, including the Seroptimist, Girl Scouts, other organizations who may be interested in planning an event for an unveiling of a monument in Tidings Park, which will probably be in March of 2021, which March being Women's History Month. And then last week we did have a tour from the Worcester County Office of Economic Development. Julie Runke was gracious enough to assist from the Havre de Grace Alliance in Main Street in having folks come in from Snow Hill community. They were specifically interested in the co-location of the Office of Tourism along with the Chamber of Commerce in a single building. How does the Opera House operate and function? How do we do First Fridays? Those sorts of things, as well as how have programs like facade and tenant fit out worked in our downtown area. So we were able to answer their questions, show them around the 300 block of St. John Street, show them the promenade, take them through the Opera House as well as the Visitor Center, and answer those questions for them. They were very gracious about having had the tour and very appreciative of us being willing to collaborate with them and share information with them quickly. As you may or may not know, they're the Deputy Director of Economic Development for Worcester County is Lachelle Scarlato, who resident of Havre de Grace for a long time, co-owner of Havre de Grace Marine Center at 723 Water Street. So she had contacted us about coming into Havre de Grace with folks from Snow Hill, and we were able to accommodate her. Then changes in Havre de Grace Economic Development. I was offered, my contract expired in June. I was offered a new contract, signed that on July 6th. So I've accepted the terms of the city. Thank you, Julie. Accepted the terms, and now the mayor and administration will sign the document, and I don't have to be sworn in, all of that kind of stuff. I was already sworn in. I'm just renewed. I get to stick around a little while longer and irritate you guys. That being said, the contract has expired for Bridget Johnson, working with the Havre de Grace Office of Economic Development. She's brought a lot to us and a lot of skill and experience. She has accepted a job as the manager for economic development for College Park, Maryland. I'm very pleased for College Park and for Bridget, not so pleased for us, but we had 3 years where she put in a lot of work and effort, and so she's finishing out projects to the end of this month, and I'm working directly with her on transitioning a lot of the documentation such as Salesforce and some of the other programs that she had taken lead on, and working those with her. And then lastly, I have under grants and grant reporting, some of this documentation you had already received, but we were able to get all of our documentation in prior to the July 1 deadline for Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development Community Legacy Program. That's for facade and tenant fit out. Obviously, July 1 fiscal year start over. We got a clearance on all of our drawdowns, accounting, matching documents. Everything was done in a manner in which the state approved, and everything was accepted. And then we also went through when on July 6th, the U.S. Small Business Administration released the PPP loans and how they were distributed. I went ahead and went through to document where those loans went and get a good idea of how many were received in our particular zip code in Havre, Grace, the 21078. So this is just a breakdown that you have before you. And just so that you're aware, this document, my report, will also be posted on the city's website. So it's a publicly accessible document. But basically, Maryland received 79,723 PPP loans. And then we have the loans broken down by the $150,000 benchmark and above for 24 total businesses in Havre de Grace, and then 179 small businesses that received under 150,000. And under 150,000 could be the max at 146,000, and one who completed an awful lot of paperwork for a $1,000 loan. But that's what they needed, and that's what they applied for, and it was approved and went through. So I wanted to give you some understanding of the volume of PPP loans that went through just in Havre de Grace, and the kind of scope and breadth of that program, and follow through with those. Now, this does not list the names of the businesses that received them, nor does it list the type of businesses, but I did go through and kind of have it in order for the ones who did receive. Corporations and LLCs received the most, LLPs after, nonprofits, and then sole proprietors on the list of the 150,000 or below. So it has stayed quite active in the Office of Economic Development with tours, people who are interested. The one thing that I would like to point out to you, under that business recruitment and retention, if you're looking at the ones that have opened and the ones that are due to open, I have dates at the end of where the address is. So for example, like Hopkins Brewery, that was something that started work and communications, I know with Warren, all the way back in 2017. Some of these, the work bringing them in started in 2016, and we're just starting with fruition. The consignment shop I've been working with since 2018, and we're finally going to see them hopefully on August 1st, opening in 2020. So it's just, I think it's interesting to track that and how long it can take to bring a business to fruition. The one business, the consignment shop, actually located in another county, well, 2 counties over, and has decided to come back to Havre de Grace. Well, maybe she didn't make the right decision. So I agreed with her. So that's what we see going on right now. A little bit of follow-up as well, I think, is in order for Abbey Burger. They are doing the work inside right now. You can see it actively going on. It's very impressive. It's down to the studs and a rebuild back up. There are grant applications for facade and tenant fit out that are currently in review for Maryland Historic Trust. The final interview that I had with Maryland Historic Trust regarding those grant applications, they were favorable to them. And that would be a 70-30 split grant. So if you were to receive 10,000, 7,000 would be in the form of a loan, 3,000 would be in the form of a grant for work to be done. So we hope to have something back from Maryland Historic Trust within the week so that we can help support the work going forward and hopefully get them open quickly. So we're working directly with them as well as with Blind Horse to try and move those projects on. I'm watching. Hi, Fred. And that's what I have at this moment. Are there any questions for me that I can help with, please?
Yeah, Erica, it's Chris. Is there any official update or any scuttlebutt on the hospital's disposition of the property here in Havre?
Well, as I think I can say publicly that there was a lot of rumor and innuendo that was going on for quite some time that the property had up on the hill had been a land swap.
Yeah,
And that, of course, was rumor and scuttlebutt. It was not truth. That did not occur. So the property up on the hill is still owned by the University of Maryland Upper Chesapeake Health System. So far, there has been no actions or transactions on that property. There have been calls about the property, people who are interested in it, either just interested in obtaining information or pricing, et cetera. Of course, we don't have any of those things like pricing, or we can just put them in touch with hospital representation. There has been no further action or activity taken through City Hall at all involving that property or the property downtown.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Erica, this is Carrie Kearney.
Hi, Terry.
I had a question. Are you going to need someone to support you in a similar role as far as what Bridget Johnson did?
I think there will be a need going forward. I think that right at this point, the city is taking a very fiscally conservative approach and kind of having Patrick as Director of Administration and the Chief of Staff, Steve Gamatoria, help with closing out some of the projects Bridget was working on so that I can continue working directly with the businesses. And I can stay focused there as we move forward and kind of see how everything pans out with what we're dealing with under COVID-19 and its restrictions. Then we can start looking at moving into some of the bigger projects again. I know one of the things that we've been doing in the middle of this is trying to, and this doesn't sound the best, I suppose, but we've been trying to lean on some of our nonprofit partners, like the Havre de Grace Alliance, the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Merchants Association, and the Main Street Program, to help with things like showing properties to interested businesses, being there for ribbon cuttings, those sorts of things that, sometimes you do have to pick. You've got 3 things all in one day. Which one are you going to go to? So those sorts of things, luckily I've got help in the form of those nonprofit partners. But it's going to be the long-term projects that Bridget was very much focused on that we're going to have to look at. Right now, she's finishing them up. I don't have any on the front burner. So I'd say in about 6 months, we're going to have to look back at that and see where we go forward.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Robert, you sent your boss to drink the beer at Hopkins, not you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to go out of town to a funeral down in Mississippi. So Barry said he would be more than happy to go over there and drink some beer. So he did, along with Len Parrish from our office and a couple of other representatives. I heard that it was a wonderful turnout and a great ribbon cutting. So we're thrilled.
Lots of complaints on Facebook about social distancing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, on the farm brewery note, just recently we have received information and have been contacted by 2 other farms in the county who are looking at starting farm breweries. So this has really started a chain reaction going through the county where we'll be one of the leading farm brewery counties in the country or in the state if it continues at this pace. So we're excited about that. In the county, primarily our economic development department over the past several months have dedicated their time to processing, developing, administering, and processing grants. So my entire team, currently the county has 3 grant programs that they're offering to businesses throughout the county. One is for small businesses who have 2 or more employees and less than $5,000 in or $5 million in annual revenue, and in good standing with the state. They're eligible for up to $7,500. And for small businesses that don't meet that employee criteria, they are eligible for $5,000 in lease or rent assistance. So those programs are moving along. We've processed and paid almost 800 of those applications already, and there are many more in process. But I urge that any of you that have not, who are own businesses and have not applied, please do. But most of all, spread the word to every business in Havre de Grace and let them know that this is still available and to please apply. We have gotten many Havre de Grace businesses that have applied and have been awarded some of the different grants. The logistics sector in Harford County seems to be holding its own, and actually we've seen some positive movement in the Eastgate area. The 1 million+ square feet that will finish out the Eastgate project has finally finished construction, and discussions are going on right now with a possible tenant. That same thing goes for Aberdeen Logistics Center. They are hopefully getting close to selecting a tenant there. Amazon has completed their new larger distribution facility in Edgewood, which is off Hanson Road, or actually Trimmel Road, behind the Kohl's Distribution Center. That has just been completed, and they are outfitting it now, and will be getting up to 100% very soon. The Amazon last mile facility in Edgewood, which is in the Lakeside business development, that is also finished, and it's coming online. So there's a lot of things happening in the logistics world, and most of it's positive. Even though we see the demise of Pier 1, but that was well underway well before COVID. I mean, in the last 5 years, their business has really spiraled down. So that was no surprise. Workforce development, Terry, I understand that SWIN will be reopening their offices in Havre de Grace on Route 90 or Route 40. And albeit with a limited staff and without public participation. This will go on for a while until we're able to move into more accepting public interaction once all of the mechanisms have been put into place for safety and distancing.
That's right. We're going to start out, as you know, Robert, with having some of the staff come back, and then in time we'll be able to meet with job seekers by appointment, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. What we're starting with is the last week of this month.
Right.
Yeah,
Good.
Back. Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, well, we're looking forward to that. And that's really about all I have right now, Warren. I mean, we've just been very, very busy. We're not able to go out and make in-person business contacts. We have our people making phone calls and connecting with our businesses, but our big focus has been trying to help as many businesses as we can with these particular grants that are being offered.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions for Robert?
Warren, can I just make one comment?
No.
I will.
Of course.
What we've been seeing, and we'll see what's going to happen on the 25th of this month. But as you all know, as far as people that are collecting unemployment, they're collecting unemployment from the state of Maryland. And then also they're on top of that, an additional $600 per week from the federal government. And of course that money is taxed, but because some people are making more money under that scenario than they did when they were working, they're refusing to go back to work when their employer calls them back. So a lot of the employers are having a lot of challenges as far as bringing people back, and they would prefer in most cases, of course, to bring their old staff back because they don't have to retrain them, things like that. There's a work share program that's available through the state of Maryland. We're promoting that. But the reason I bring this up is because come July 25th, that's the last week that people will be paid that additional $600 unless the federal government back in, well, this coming August decides to extend it or bring it back in a different scenario. So anyway, we're going to see probably a big change as far as once that happens on the 25th of this month. We feel like we're going to have a lot of people that are going to realize they have to get back to work. So, but it's been a horrible situation for the employers because they've got the work to be done. They need the people back and they've been refusing to come back. And then the other thing too, some people are refusing because they feel like the workplace isn't safe. They're scared. So
Well,
there's a lot of challenges out there.
How does this affect, you know, the PPP requirements where, you know, you've got to bring the workforce back in order to fully satisfy the conversion from loan to grant? How is that affecting that? If I can't bring them back,
Right. Well, the one thing is the employers, it's another thing they have to worry about because a lot of them are just trying to stay open and stay in business and, you know, hopefully make a profit. But if they have employees that they had furloughed and now they offer them a job, and if that employee doesn't come back, the onus is on the employer to report it to the unemployment office within 15 days that this individual has refused to come back. So that's an additional thing that the employer has on his plate. And then at the same time, as far as you're talking about the various grants that were that are out there and that have been awarded, and some of them are basically to help with salaries. It just all depends on what the employer does as far as reporting the situation and to see how it's going to roll out in the future. But as far as answering your question, you know, I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to be affected right now. A lot of it's to be determined. Mhm.
by the way, I forgot to mention, $6,280,696 in loans to Havre Grace businesses. Benefits from the PPP are a pretty nice number. So,
Well, and along that lines, if we want to look at Harford County total in general, there's been over about $96 million put out in Harford County through PPP, with about 2,500, 2,600 businesses participating.
that's great. Okay. That takes us to, Jason's not here today. I wanted to kind of suspend the agenda a little bit. And actually, I'd like to introduce a concept, but something to think about, which we can discuss in a later meeting. But Maria, I understand you're very active in the Route 40 Business Association.
Yes.
And that and the alliance, it would really be helpful, I think, to us to understand, and you know, in terms of a, you know, broader, increased information on what's going on with those partner organizations that we, you know, we can, that I think that it helps us. So what's going on with the Route 40 Business Association?
Well, we had our planning meeting for the year today, so that's perfect timing. And both Robert and Beetle serve on that board. And so we're actually planning events for the upcoming year, and we will evaluate them on a month-to-month basis as to whether or not they will be held based on the COVID-19 restrictions. So we had a webinar in June about reopening your business, and we received a lot of positive feedback regarding that. So we are considering having part 2 to that in the near future. perhaps as soon as August. So we can certainly keep you posted as far as that's concerned.
Please do.
And we do, I'm sorry, okay, yes. And we also have other members who are on the board who belong to the Route 40 Business Association, such as Terry Kearney and also Erica.
And also Beetle, I think.
Yes, yeah, Beetle's on the board as
But
well.
I'm picking on you.
We noticed.
Anyway, thank you, Maria. And please do keep us, as you narrow down those activities for the year, as they evolve and dissolve, keep us informed. It only takes a couple minutes, but I think it helps us with a general view of a more educated view of what's going on.
Sure.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Julie, what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 months with the Alliance? What do you got up your sleeve?
I'm going to toss that one to Chris because he's on the board.
Well, that was unfair, but okay. Right now, Warren, we've been in a hiatus, of course, because of the COVID situation. We actually have a board meeting scheduled for next week, which will be our first in since probably March. So a lot of the planned activities that the Alliance had, of course, have gone by the wayside, things that we were either sponsoring or participating in. And really, we're at the point now where we have to reset our schedule. Certainly the TARC grant outcomes, the dollar value that we generate out of our applications will have potentially at least a material impact on our ability to keep our director and associate director staff in place at the level of activity where we've had it. And that could have an adverse impact on our ability to actually undertake activities that we are the sponsors of, because we, quite honestly, as a board, we're not particularly hands-on individually, and we do rely on the paid staff to do the vast majority of the analysis and organization and quite honestly, the actual execution of the events that we sponsor. So right now, that's kind of a long-winded way of saying I don't have much, but I will have more next month after we've had a meeting and we'll at least have had a chance as a group to look at where we are and try to begin to reproject things out into the future.
Thank you, Chris. Your mic's off, Julie.
Okay, so
Main
he did say that, but the director and I are both extremely busy. We've been helping with all the grants, making sure that the businesses downtown have the grant information. All that PPP that we talk about is, we're feeding them that information, the county grants, etc. Also helping Erica with a number of grants that she's been working on and supporting her with the businesses that come and need to be walked through a space. We have the supporting the downtown merchants. We're looking at doing a series of radio ads that say, Havre de Grace is open. We have outdoor dining, shops, museums. We're only an hour from Baltimore or Philadelphia. Come visit Havre de Grace, for a little staycation. So we're working on that with the Visit Hartford folks to help us out with that. So we are managing to stay pretty busy.
Okay.
And I will say in my defense, that was an update that I learned something from as well. So what you're seeing is you got two very professional people who are taking on assignments primarily on their own and executing them in great detail and with great success. And I'm sure I'll learn more when we get together as a group next week.
Right. Okay, well, as activities come up, please make us aware. I think we'd like to participate in them, and I think it gives us, again, a better scope of the activities in the city. I might mention as we go into committee reports that because of the tree project, Julie and Paul,
Infamous trees.
there's going to be a building built on the area that was filled in with the gray rubble. Business is going in there, was going to have to invest $250,000 in sidewalks and curbing, but because we're putting in the trees, they can avoid that investment. So we saved them $250,000 with our $5,000 worth of trees. Good story. And a business is coming in to occupy that space. So that's a double good story, I guess. So that leads us into gateways, and where are we with I guess you guys get tired of reporting, but where are we with trees?
Well, actually, we're moving along with the trees. The money is in the bank account. The plan, Crows is sitting on the trees with the layout that we had laid out. The State Highways gentleman has given us a letter or email that says, yeah, go ahead and do this. And we're slowly gathering the letters of acceptance from the various property owners to say, yeah, go ahead and plant trees on my property. So as soon as all those letters come in, we really aren't going to plant the trees until September anyway, because it's too hot to plant trees right now. But we're slowly gathering all those. I personally have talked to all the owners, and they all said, yeah, we want trees. So it's just a matter of getting them to send the letter in. But we're moving along with that. So September, we will have trees.
Great job. You guys have done well. Thank you. Any old business?
All right, I have some news through the Alliance. One of the projects we had been working on through a grant with the Lower Susquehanna Greenway was a mobile app of the Lafayette Trail. We all know the Lafayette Trail. You get that little pamphlet and you walk around, look at buildings. This will be a mobile app that you download on your phone. It's called Districts. And you go in to Districts and it says, Havre de Grace, take the Lafayette tour. And what it adds is a audio component. There are about 8 different voices, historical voices from the city, the lock tender, Senator Tidings, Esther O'Neill, who was John O'Neill's daughter-in-law, who took over the lighthouse for a while, an ice farmer. So as you walk around, there will be little beacons as you get to a stop, and it'll push out the audio for you. And you'll hear all these stories about Havre de Grace as you walk around. That is actually wrapping up, and we're in testing right now. And hopefully sometime in August, we will see a big release on that. So that we will have some premieres. We're going to have some press releases through the town. So something to look forward to. It'll be something new.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
It really is pretty cool. Having downloaded, it's pretty cool.
Erica's one of my testers, and she was a
Okay.
big help in telling me stories and finding pictures for me. So
Old stuff. Cobwebs.
Warren, can I-
Yeah, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had
Rubber cars.
I had a friend sending me information in real time from Governor Hogan's announcements. So one of the primary issues that he was focused on today was The uptick by percentages for younger persons contracting COVID and gathering in restaurants and bars. So yesterday, the governor's office released a strongly worded proviso of the intent for restaurants being open and allowing indoor dining is for people to go in and to eat and to finish eating, get up and to leave, and not to hang out and dance and party and carouse and drink and et cetera, so forth and so on. We're not seeing this as a raging issue and problem in the city of Havre de Grace, but things can become lax in certain areas, and the governor can't necessarily single anyone out. So they're just saying kind of across the board in the state, be cognizant of it. We will be watching. The state police are going to be enforcing. Previously, it had been, believe it or not, phone calls to your handy dandy economic development director at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning to let me know that 3 people were standing together at a bar. And apparently when you say, what's the punchline? The person who's calling to complain is not happy with you. But there is now going to be a little bit more of structured analysis of what's going on through state law enforcement. So that's part and parcel of what the governor was announcing and basically saying, if there isn't compliance, there is a possibility of shutting down. Only you can keep Maryland businesses open. So he was being very, using a lot of graphics, using a lot of design to put that information out there. So you can look at that through the roadmap to recovery that the governor has put up. And then he also did some announcements of gathering additional information for schools to open, and then information on some investigation into fraud reports on unemployment. So that's some of what you'll see with what the governor's 4 o'clock was about. So I wanted to at least give you a little bit of an update from what was sent over to me, since we're all together as opposed to watching that.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, a couple of things that are, one, you know, this is the month we would normally, in normal times, elect officers. So that, there's something that's come up. First of all, Julie, your term expired in September of 2019. Mine expired in May of this year. And Michael's expires in September of this year. So they want to renew those. If you're thinking about it, I know, Julie, we did say, do you want to continue? But it apparently takes a formal action by city government to continue to serve. The traditional appointment dates have been September. Almost all of you have expirations in September, but our elections are in July. Makes little sense to have, to me at least, or I'm looking for feedback, it may make all the sense in the world to you, to have people appointed in September after electing officers for the year in July. And I guess I would like to propose that we look at and consider May renewal dates, May membership dates, and then correspond to the July election, so that people would be working together for June. At least they'd be familiar with the faces. It's just an idea. I throw it out there. You can react to it now or react to it later. Any comment?
I guess I'll chime in, Warren.
I thought you might.
I think being cognizant of the turnover on the board membership vis-a-vis when we elect officers is a smart thing to do. I might suggest that 1 month working together may not be enough for the new members to figure out what's going on, what kind of activities really take place within the board. And it also wouldn't be enough time for the returning board members to get to know a new member enough to know whether or not they would be excited about one of those people running for an executive position on the board. So if you're asking just for immediate feedback, I might stretch that out to 2 or 3 months and do the elections, make it 3 months apart rather than 1 month of active service. And if that were the case, I'd be fully in support of it.
Well, we could roll the appointment dates back to, say, January and the elections in July. Leave that alone. Latest in your concept, Chris, would be, say, February.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a hard number in mind, but I just think it would serve everybody if we got to know each other as a group, because there's always something of a new dynamic when you have turnover. And people that stand for election ought to be known by the people that are voting for them, and they ought to have a good idea of what the job entails.
I agree.
Hey, Warren.
Yeah.
Hey, Warren. How about, I kind of agree with Chris, but would it make sense to make the break like the beginning of the year? Because, normally December we have the little get together, and if people were leaving, it'd be like a thank you, and then we would start new come January.
So so December would be the
farewell.
Yeah.
Maybe it's have new members, they could come to the get together just to meet people and then start business January 1 or third week of January.
Okay. This may we'll have to explore whether or not it's a good idea. A very good idea, actually, I think. Anybody else? So I think that it perhaps would be, we'll have to check whether or not it requires legislative action. But that's where I would, now for those of you who are, and by the way, the board gets decimated in September of 21. I think there's 3 of us left after September 21. Everybody else expires. But roll those back or forward, whichever way we want to go. And then, anyway, it appeals to me. I hope it appeals to you. So do I hear a motion that would support rolling back the appointment date and maintaining pursuing the rollback of the appointment date and preserving the election date in July?
Also move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next thing is with the change, Eric has talked about Bridget's departure. There was a strategic plan done in 2011. You will remember from our October 2018 retreat, we talked about the need for professional or somehow looking at, but in that 10-year plan should be redone for 2021. It's 44 pages. And Erica and I talked about who, she's in sales, basically, sales and marketing. Anything we do to get her writing a report is going to reduce the time that is available for contacting, soliciting businesses located in Havre. On the other hand, I don't see us, and by the way, there's also a bias that in Erica writing it, there's an intrinsic bias that's potential. But I don't see us being the writers either. However, I do think that we probably can help out a lot with a preliminary review and some extensive discussion. And therefore, unless there's an objection, I'd like to suspend the agenda for the August meeting, send you the 44 pages if you promise to read it, and have us come together in our 90-minute meeting talking about what changes, high school, hospital 1, hospital 2, what so much has changed in our economic environment in these last 10 years. And so that's my proposal. Does that sound good to everyone, or sound like a waste of time?
Sounds good.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Promise to read it?
Sure.
All right, that's what we'll do. We'll suspend, Robert, we'll suspend your report. Erica, a report can come in writing. And I would encourage that. Brief format. Okay. Last thing I've been thinking about, you guys are going to be, I'm going to wear you out today. The last thing I've been thinking about is when we touch things like the marina, or we touch things, we tend to we talk about historic downtown Havre, Grace, and we really have an affinity to some extent for tourism. I mean, Julie, so we wander over from pure economic development, recruitment, and retention of businesses to also attracting dollars in tourism. So one of the things I was thinking about, and I'm going to throw it out to you, because I think this is really a call that Erica should make, is going to the city and asking them to add an ex officio seat for tourism on a permanent ex officio seat for tourism on EDAB. And along with that, I would like to say that I hope we can get regular brief reports from Route 40 Business Alliance, Main Street, and tourism. It just seems, without forcing us to sit here and listen and not do things, that's the risk. But on the other hand, if we adjust and learn to live with it, it might be a very good addition. Thoughts?
Warren, this is Terry.
Yes, I can see Terry.
In addition to that, how about bring back a representative from the Havre Grace Chamber? We used to have a representative on our board.
Yeah, they left.
I know.
Right. Okay. Well, that was discussed actually, the chamber as well. And I mean, if we think those two are the logical partners, right? Logical partner organizations. So,
Warren,
Chris.
yeah, when you talk about tourism, are you talking about the director of tourism and marketing or a representative from the tourism advisory board as the ex officio member?
I think I would leave it to them. What do you think?
Well, again, just on a personal level, I worry about stretching Lori. She comes to the board meetings of the Alliance. And she's involved in a lot of other things. Might be asking her to take on a little bit much. I'm sure she'd be happy to provide a written report, similar to what she provides to tourism advisory, but we might want to tap somebody from the tourism advisory board to sit with us.
Okay, good suggestion. Any other reactions? I feel like this has been more of a dispensing meeting than a discussion meeting. Okay,
Well, I would say, I mean, we spend a lot of time on downtown and the shops, but Erica spends a lot of time on Industrial Way and the group on Route 40, which are more industrial. I think a lot of our focus needs to be what's happening there.
Julie, I agree. I strongly agree with you. We've got to always remember that 50% of the city's revenues come from the industrial side of the house. And the jobs that are produced there produce cash flows that permit us to enjoy the quality of life we have. It's a balancing act. I mean, it's, you know, you and I have talked about this. People, you know, my joking comment to folks is the downtown area, historic downtown area, often does not concern itself with anything west of what's the street? West of Union or north of Otsego. And they forget that we have a very significant industrial component that provides a lot of jobs for folks from Havre, Grace, $100 million in contracts with APG in 10 years. I mean, those are big economic drivers. So I agree with you, Julie. It's a delicate balance. We tend to really get drawn toward the historic waterfront Havre Grace, and rightfully so. It's our greatest asset.
No, I guess adding a tourism person just kind of adds to that balance, you know, to the tourism side and away from the industrial side. And that would be my only concern.
That's really good. Good thought. Terry, you look like you want to say something.
Erica,
Yes.
not to put you on the spot, but do you think you and I could perhaps team together and maybe talk to some of the people over there at the industrial park and see if any of them might want to be a member of the board?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, we could easily do that, talk to a couple of the people out there, even some of the people who've done presentations to this board.
We know them. Mhm.
Yeah.
And I've lost track of time, but I think it was about maybe like 9 months ago, we put something out on the website to see if anyone was interested, bless you, in volunteering for the board. Do we ever have anybody respond to that?
No,
Well, quietly we have.
not to me.
Right. I haven't talked this over with, you know, Clark Turner has expressed an interest. Malcolm George is a director at Artesia Water in Delaware. They handle port deposits, water, et cetera. Former hot shoe with Eckerd Drugstore. He was their major problem solver. He's inquired. There's an indication that JP from NextGen. Is that it? Might be interested. If we could get somebody from I really feel like we need somebody, Terry, from the industrial park. I think, you know, somebody like Mary Steinbrenner would be an excellent addition. At one point too, we have Solvay's director of HR is the person who runs the Clean Revolution Street program once a month and cleans the promenade every 90 days. There's a pretty, the reason I say Mary is she's introduced this bicycle program so that her employees can get downtown. There's a real commitment there at Dunlop to downtown. So, so those are thoughts. Paul, were you going to say something?
No, Warren, I'm sorry.
You coughed. Okay. So, I don't know. What do you think? How do we put a full court press on to get somebody from the industrial park?
I thought maybe it's just simply asking, some of the representatives from the companies. Sometimes they're so busy that they don't even think about it. Don't you agree, Erica?
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of going out and making the ask and letting them know what the commitment means and what the goals and the forward motion of the board is.
And if there's a, if they know Erica is, she's going to rope me into all these things, maybe I can, I'm willing to help with the recruitment as well. So whatever it takes. Okay. Good thought, Terry. Thank you. Anything else? Next meeting is August 19th. We're going to lay aside the agenda except for written reports. And we're going to read the strategic plan, and we'll talk about it. We'll try and develop some outline for thinking. Eric and I'll work on some organization of the thought process. For example, if we could say here are 4 areas of focus or 4 ways, channels to think, we'll try and do that. But more than that, I think it should be a wide open. Erica, Mike, and David and I will work on that. All right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, other than that, it's 5:04. Our meetings are getting better. Do I hear a motion to David? David, you saying something?
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I have nothing to say.
Oh, okay. 5:04, motion for adjournment.
So move.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Good seeing everybody.
Take care.
Stay well, stay healthy.